Alright, where are we? Okie doke. Yep, that's nice and done. Yep, oh god, that was a bit of a pain, but yep, that's in, that's done. Ah, oh, man, that was fun. Yeah, that's cool, that's in. Oh, you gotta have VR mode, right? You gotta have VR mode. Oh god, if I... Yeah, it's done, it's over with, it's done. For now, it's done. What else? Oh, right, yeah. Shit. Okay, where do I even begin with this one? Apart from, you know, with wine. Wine's a good idea. For real, this one is easily the biggest update I've done since the start, I think. Seriously, look at this. This is the changelog. This isn't like a script. This is just the things that have changed. So like, normally I have a structure. Normally I have a like, this is the thing I'm gonna focus on. I don't really have that. There's so many things that have actually happened in the last month. Speaking of which, I want to make this release cadence a lot faster than this because this is kind of ridiculous. It was meant to be like a quick cleanup, and then one thing led to another, and it just turned into this massive make-a game update. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just try and focus on things in the kind of semi-logical order, and I'll get into like the meat and the details and the like little bits towards the end. Alright, let's get right into it. First and foremost, the big obvious thing, we got a new ship. Ray has absolutely pulled through with this. He's smashed it out of the park. And with it has come a whole bunch of enhancements to a bunch of things around the act of flying, like sound, the thrust emitters, all of the nice shaders and trails and stuff. I want to thank you, Tavi, for spending a bunch of time with me and teaching me some stuff about shader graphs, and I've really dug into it before, and it is really cool. It's really, really cool. So all of these thrusters and stuff, they're all custom shaders and they all independently fire, and we'll get into all of that. And a whole bunch of people are going to be asking me, I know, where's the old ship? I still want to play with that and da-da-da. It is in there still. For now, I'm probably going to get rid of it or turn it into an Easter egg or something like that because it really is just a placeholder. This is now the new default. But there is a profile system in here now, so this allows you to customize a ship and choose previous ships and things like this. I think this is the default color, or not default thrusters and stuff. You can switch between the two ships that are in the game at the moment. This is all multiplayer aware, so anything you choose gets pulled in with multiplayer sessions, which is awesome. You can tweak the individual colours of the ship, so there's a primary colour and an accent colour, so I can change that, and I can change this to, like, I don't know, bright yellow, sure. And you can change the thrusters. These are the individual thrusters that fire that was on about before. You can change the boost trail colour. This is a trail that you saw on the title screen. This occurs when you boost in multiplayer, so you can still see it in single player, but obviously it's, you know, it's over there. But other people can see your boost, and it adds a huge amount to be able to follow people because the trail leaves an obvious mark where they've been. And last but not least, but just basically in here for Nova and Deethan, you can change the ship light colour. It doesn't really add much, but it was an easy thing to add. In here you can also change your name. I want to expand on this later on to include things like your country of origin, so that can be added to the leaderboards. And I want to get into other things like ship kits and decals and skins and things like that way down the line, way down the line. But this is a nice start. It allows you to customize it and play around with it, so have fun with that. Cool, what should we get into next? I think I'll save that one for a minute. Let's talk about the new ship a little bit more. So, I'm going to jump into... Oh god, shall I kill two birds with one stone? I'm going to do that. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. There is a new world in here, a biome world, which is... Effectively, before there were two terrains, V1 and V2. Those have now been packaged up and put onto here. Before they were like a feature flag you have to go and find. Now you can just switch into this new one called Biome World, and this ties together a bunch of different biomes. So what I'm trying to do here is experiment with a more varied world landscape. Eventually this will become the terrain, and all the others will probably go away. But I'm really interested in some feedback now, because I want to know what it's like performance-wise. All of these textures have been updated, and they use a lot of memory. In the meantime, let's talk about the new ship cockpit. So a bunch of new things have been added to this cockpit, as you can see, all these new indicators and stuff. Let's go through them. Before, we had just the fuck's that? You fucking idiot. Just the velocity indicator and the boost capacitor. Those are still in there. They act a little bit different. They've got some more features that I'll get into. Additionally, we've got some nice new indicators along the bottom and a G meter that shows you how many Gs you're pulling, and it kind of goes to show how ridiculous the force and thrusts are in this game, because you can go from 0 to 200 meters per second very quickly, which is actually 20 Gs, turns out. So yeah, this is enough to kill anybody. Oh well. The flight assists are shown in the bottom left. Those are independent, so if you didn't know, the game actually has two separate flight assists, a vector flight assist and a rotational flight assist. You can toggle those independently, and now it's clear which ones are actually active. And obviously your main toggle can turn them on and off. That's how it is in Elite Dangerous, really. And you can turn off, say, just vector assist and leave rotational on. That's more like Star Citizen. The velocity limiter on the right there, that's the thing that's not a brake, but now it's just got a nice visual indicator that's on, and the ship lights as well, that's a toggle. Cool, the indicator. So this, you can see, tweens into red as you get close to the top end, and if you've got flight assist enabled, when you pull back on the throttle, it will now reverse it. This is a nice little touch. Boost capacitor is where things get a little bit more interesting. And thank you to Sandling, by the way, for spending some time with me and coming up with a couple of good ideas for this. So, in the corner of your eye, when you're just flying and you're trying to do races, you can now see when it's full because it's bright green. When you're using it, it's not green. That tells you that it's nearing full capacity, like that. You basically never want it to be 100% when you're doing time trials and racing and stuff, unless you're, very carefully timing things. You almost never want it to be full, because otherwise that's just wasted time, right? So, if you use it once, it goes into a boosting state where it's red. If I boost again, it'll go all the way down. You'll see it go red at the bottom. If you spot that in your corner of your eye, you know that it's now charging. So there is 3 states: in use, charging, and ready. If you're judicious about it, you will never see charging. But that's really hard to do, right? So you've got to kind of balance it, and you can do that by looking at it in the corner of your eye and just seeing that, oh, it's going green, I can use it again. If it's above, I think it's 20%, once you've used it, you're good, you're not going to see the charge thing. But yeah, it just really adds a lot when you're trying to balance and juggle all of that crap. Let's quickly talk about this ship, because, oh my god, it's so good. Okay, so this is in the editor. No, there is no external camera in the game yet. I will add one, I promise, because this thing is too cool not to have the ability to see from outside. Ugh, why did I say it? These colours. Oh, gross. Anyway, doesn't matter. Now you can see all the individual thrusters firing, which happens in multiplayer as well. And this is with flight assist enabled, so you can see all the individual thrusters doing their things. So if I pull back on the stick now in flight assist, you'll see that the thrusters fire just enough to get you into a spin, and then nothing more. I'm still holding back on the throttle, on the stick rather. When I let go, you can see them all fighting to pull you back into some sort of stable position. This works across all the different axes, and it's really, really cool to see. So I can get it into some like mad spin without flight assist, and then when I turn flight assist on, you can see them all fighting and pulling it back into some sort of stable position. And it's not cheating, it's actually doing that properly, which is, oh, it's so cool to see. I've had so much fun testing this, I swear to God. So it might not be immediately obvious, but it's been about 2 hours because I've had to re-record things and fix some bugs. What now? Life is pain. So I'm a little bit drunk, and the night is wearing thin, so let's just power through this. Where the feck was I? Oh god, alright, yeah, okay. Ooh, big things. So, we now actually have some content, some game in the game, something to play. The time trial section has had a huge amount of TLC, and I've not shown anybody this on the Discord yet, because I kind of wanted to save it, needed something. Now we can actually have multiple levels. Before there was just a single baked boring level that everyone's kind of sick of. When you click it now, we have actual maps with thumbnails and a whole bunch of information. Not just that, it has medals that you can get. It has personal bests that are serialized to the hard drive, including all of the individual splits. So I'm not going to ruin any of the levels because we've actually got a nice bit of progression. We've got a very, very simple one with no terrain. We've got something that tests more skills in different axes, the original station, and then a couple of terrain maps. But I'm going to go into the original one for now because I've not set a best time on this one because Jesus Christ, I've played it enough to death as it is. Now you can see, I'm not going to move anywhere, I'm going to set that on. In the top right it says target bronze because I've not played this at all yet. that moves up the medals. So if I get a bronze medal next time, it'll say target silver. If I get a silver, it'll say target gold. If I get a gold, it will just tell me what my personal best time is, which is sweet, right? So let's set a quick time on this. Now, there is an additional one as well, and that is a platinum medal. This is very, very similar to Trackmania. It's something that I just missed that because I am shit. It's something very similar to Trackmania. I really like that every map has this like hidden extra time to beat, and I think in that game it's defined as the author's best time. So all of my best times will be hidden platinum medals that you've got to kind of find yourself by trying to beat them. I don't expect most people to actually bother to go for them, that's why they're hidden. I didn't want to kind of shove them in people's face. It's basically just there for sandling, let's be honest with you. So, once we've set that, we've now got 2685. If I jump back to the time trial menu, there will be a proper end screen at some point where you can like jump straight into the next one, retry this, go back to the time trial menu, but you know, baby steps, the functionality is in there now. Now you can... That bug thing I was on about. Give me a minute. Okay, well, you know, I got a bronze because I'm beyond this at this point. Okay, fixed. Right, so I got a bronze medal. We can see the personal best here. The important thing is now when I go into it, it now says target silver in the corner. Sweet. And now every one of these checkpoints is going to give me my individual splits. So you can see that now I'm 1 second 38 faster than before, I'm 142, and so on and so forth. Basically, this just had a whole bunch of care and love into it so that we can actually accurately start measuring our performance and getting better at it and that kind of thing. So, cool! Actual gameplay! How cool is that? Oh, okay, right. Let's talk input again for a little while. Mouse settings! There's a bunch of people that have been asking me for more mouse settings because they're more used to Elite Dangerous and stuff. Now we finally have mouse relative return rate and power curve. Now the relative return rate, the higher this is, the faster the mouse will snap back to 0. This only obviously applies in relative mouse mode, so scrolling down you can set this independently for each axis. Once that's enabled, it means that you can move, like make quick adjustments and then it'll pull back. If it's all the way to the top, it's basically like it was before. If it's at the bottom, it very gently pulls it back in. Cool. Power curve. At the moment, everything is linear by default, so it's just, you know, the more you pull the mouse away from 0, the more it will roll in a linear fashion. The higher this value is, the more that this is more like a curve, like this shape, right? So the higher this value is, the more effort it takes to get the ship moving. So that's in, that's cool. I might end up putting that on axes. If people think it's worthwhile, please let me know. I genuinely don't know, it's not something I use, so... Additionally, we've got a couple of extra toggles for the mouse. If you want to fly primarily with flight assist on, but you want to force it to be relative mouse when flight assist is off, which is quite a common ask in Elite, there's now a toggle for that here. And finally, you can actually set a binding to recenter the mouse if you get lost, if you're not using relative and it's somewhere miles off. That just makes it a little bit easier to just snap back to 0. Cool, you also might have noticed that there's this shiny header with this lovely little animation in here. This is all part of making this a little bit more readable, a bit more sensible. All the bindings have been refactored into a single page. Previously, there was one page for like full range axes and one page for like key bindings, and that's a little bit confusing. That has now been resolved by combining everything and using that little drop-down header thing. So all of the full range axes are in each of the headers, and you can also customize the independent axes or buttons here. So if you want, I don't know, the individual triggers on a PlayStation pad to be your pitch up and pitch down for whatever reason, you can do that here, or you can set up keyboard commands or whatever, and then you have your full pitch axes as well. These are independent, you can bind both and use both if you want to, but they're there. I've also added dead zones to all of the axes as well, and invert was already there, but it was kind of hard to find before. Now everything's all compact in one place. And finally, as a little bit of an extra, I've improved some of the throttle mechanics. There is now the ability to set it to a forward-only configuration. So by default, The throttle is full range. This is what it should be for the vast majority of people. If you're using a host SAS, if you're using a control pad or a keyboard, just leave this alone. If you're using a throttle, a proper flight throttle, you can set this now to forward only if you want. That means that as you pull it all the way back, that is 0, is stop, right? Whereas in full range, that is reverse. So it's reverse and then forward, right? If you set it to forward only, then you also need to bind a reverse button. Well, you don't have to, but I mean, it's kind of highly recommended that you bind a reverse button, right? So cool, that's done. Additionally, I've also added bindings to make a virtual throttle in the game. So if you push whatever you bind this to, the throttle will increase and stay there. And I know this is kind of confusing because it's throttle up and down and throttle increase and decrease, and like, what's the difference between them? If you got some idea of how better to word that, please let me know because I haven't got a damn clue. But yeah, if it receives any other input while the virtual throttle is active, it will just cancel it out immediately. It'll just stop. It'll just put that back to 0 and then take the new value in. So yeah, you don't really use this unless you're on a keyboard, I think really is the main one. I can't see many use cases for it. Or if you just want that extra axis on your control pad, if you just want to go like, I'll set the throttle to full with a button and then never touch it and just you know. So yeah, that's cool. Last but not least, in the options menu, we finally have some audio configuration. Like, up to now, there's not really been that much audio in the game, but it's still kind of annoying having this really loud UI and stuff. Master volume is obviously the mix between everything, but you can toggle the UI volume independently because, you know, these are kind of loud and clicky and clacky and stuff. So, that's cool. Okay, what else is on the changelog? A couple of fixes for VR users. The headset now always remembers your last calibrated head position. I don't know why most games don't do this, but I hate the whole pecking for the fucking recenter button. It drives me mad. Speaking of the recenter button, that now works in every scenario if you do need it. So the main menu, the pause menu, in-game, loading, anywhere, it should just always recenter the headset. I've also added a camera shake when you're boosting. It's really minor, and it's not actually the camera itself, it's the ship juddering and shaking. But functionally, it's kind of like a camera shake. In VR, though, it means that, you know, your points of reference in the world don't move or anything like that. So I've had no problems with it, personally. If you are a VR user, please look out for that. Tell me if that causes you any nausea, because, you know, definitely don't want that. In non-VR, your acceleration forward is tied slightly to the camera field of view, which kind of exacerbates that sense of speed and momentum. Obviously, this does not apply to VR, otherwise I will be making people very sad and very ill. There has been some minor flight model changes, so this is thanks to Carter on the Discord. Effectively, the base thrust has been doubled, which sounds kind of ridiculous, right? But the boost and torque have been halved to compensate, so when you're boosting and turning and stuff, there is no difference whatsoever. But when you're not boosting, you're basically twice as more maneuverable. Well, no, twice as more better at changing your vector. There we go. We got there in the end. Checkpoint collisions should be resolved now. We're doing that with raycasts that change size depending on velocity. So if you're using a very fast ship, it should just work. Speaking of very fast ships, they don't save times yet. That will be coming later. I want to set up tiers of like low tier ship, medium tier ship, which is basically what it is now, and ridiculous tier, but also I want a kind of configurable tier where it's basically about finding the configuration that finds the fastest time, because I think there's a lot of interesting nuance there. But down the line, right now it has to be the default ship or it will not save your time. The fog has been fixed. Oh my god, this was driving me spare. So now the fog effect doesn't kind of glitch through transparent objects like the checkpoints and like the menu in VR and things like that. That's gone, so load off my mind. There was a community pull request that fixed a bunch of mouse issues, particularly on Linux, but also on Windows. It's a little bit nicer the way that it captures the mouse in the screen and how it doesn't capture the mouse in the screen in the editor. So as a kind of consequence, that's really improved the speed at which I can develop the game in Unity's editors. Thank you, Lignar, that was amazing. And, oh god, just a bunch of other bugs and fixes and tweaks and things. Again, go and read the changelog if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but if not, play the game, let me know what you think, share some times on the Discord because I am super excited to see what you guys do with that. And yeah, have fun. See you guys next time. Peace.
Oh,